Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with App Properties. Born and raised right here in central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Welcome back, Rob Kendall Show. Don't forget the website, robkendallshow.com. He's back by request.
Here we go.
One of the most interesting accounts on all of Twitter, Stephen Whitmer. Find him on Twitter at Indy Reporter, at Indy_reporter_. So for people who may not be familiar with you, I said, you're like, remember on the X-Files, there was this group called the Lone Gunmen that Mulder would go see, and they just knew everything about every little intricacy of the government. Like, that's you. You spend your whole day digging through Indiana state government documents.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it is quite the rabbit hole that people can go down. I love going into the weeds of IERC, the IEDC, every other acronym that you could think of in Indiana government, and there's never a low amount of information that you can collect.
So you are here with us today to talk about this $1 billion announcement that Braun made, where he was going to clean up the IEDC, new day at the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. And then he came out last week and said, we're going to throw another $1 billion at a specific group of people through the IEDC. First of all, it's been a year, basically, since he announced the plan to audit, big changes at the IEDC. You read the documents. Are there any meaningful changes at Braun's IEDC?
No. In fact, I found the documents for the board change, or like how they're going to change the events policy, how they're going to be spending any money. And there's no like, we're going to top it off at this number. It's more like, we're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to see if it was okay that you spent that money on whatever. In fact, I want to show you guys something. It was just really funny. I was looking through this last night through the Indiana Economic Development Foundation, what they were talking about wanting to get rid of.
Okay, so let's reset for everybody because there's so many acronyms.
So many.
And we talked about this last week. The foundation is the nonprofit arm of the IEDC.
That's right.
That pays for all the travel of the IEDC, which was funded in part by the utility companies.
Yep.
And now Braun had come out and said he was going to wind the foundation down, and then Capital Chronicle last week, I think it was, had an article saying they still spent $500,000 last year.
Yep. And I watched the couple of meetings that they had too, and I was kind of mentioned in there, like Nikki Kelly's Capital Chronicle article saying, well, we're going to keep a couple of portions of it in there still. And like, this was totally predictable that this was going to happen because you still need some way to transfer the money. So either you're going to keep the way that they have that infrastructure, or you're going to make a new one and just slap some lipstick on a pig. But this was really funny. In 2024, I read through the 990 of what they spent money on their travel expenses for speaking engagements and state representation, $340,000 on East Asia and the Pacific.
Whoa. So in 2024, so this would have still been Holcomb, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They spent how much?
$340,000.
On what?
On travel expenses for speaking engagements and state representation.
And it was where?
East Asia and the Pacific.
Oh, good grief.
South America, $123,000. And Europe, and I like how they put it, including Iceland and Greenland. Yeah, they put $267,000.
Okay, so I'm going to do the public school math here real quick. 320, 267, is that right?
340.
267.
Yep.
That's 600,000.
Yep.
Another 120 somewhere.
Yep. And then another 24,000 for inside the
So
U.S.
that's almost $750,000 on travel through this foundation, basically.
Yep.
Holy smoke.
Yeah, for state representation. Go figure.
Okay, so Braun comes out, and he changes the board over.
Yep.
He does the audit, which reveals basically all the stuff that the Three Kings article and Indy Star, et cetera, was saying.
Yep.
Did he, is anything different?
No, it's basically the same. It's just different people in there. Now, I will give him a little bit of credit. The videos are on the website, the IEDC website. What I was having a huge problem with, this is my own criticism again for what they're doing, is like, make it public, put it on YouTube. Like all the other state departments, they put them on YouTube. I mean, even Diego puts it on YouTube, and you're telling me IEDC can't put it on YouTube? They put it on Vimeo, and I finally found, fortunately, and I'm not going to put the link out there because I don't want to get destroyed, but I finally found the home base where they put all the videos at.
Stephen Whitmer of Indy Reporter at Indy_reporter_ is our guest. We're talking about Braun's plan, or we'll get to Braun's plan, to spend $1 billion on this agriculture, life science, whatever. Do you think Braun really ever intended to reform the IEDC? That this was all just dinner theater? Like, what do you think went on here? Because it doesn't, I agree with you, it doesn't seem like there's anything really changing, anything meaningful compared to what he did before.
No, and I think this is like when a head coach takes over a team. Like, that was the old administration, and this is going to be our new administration. Nice and fresh, nice and clean, a little bit more transparent. Look how we're doing things, but we still want to get to that goal, that brass ring. And this is really no different than what Holcomb did. In fact, in 2025, right before Braun was going to take office, the IEDC put out this huge puff newsletter about how great Holcomb was. We've had this amount of commitments in 2024 to create this many jobs. And you know, it's the usual stuff like, well, how do you quantify that? Because last I checked, we are still having to pay more in taxes. In fact,
yes,
if we are getting all this extra money, why are we having to worry about tolls?
Well, this is the question I keep asking. If all of these foreign corporations, these foreign entities, bringing in foreign workers, which we'll talk about here in a second, are so great, why has our tax burden never been higher? And nobody can answer that question.
Yeah, and you know, of course, I have to go through the campaign reports to find out. This is like really my jam and jelly is the campaign report. So obviously, we know Eli and Elanco and people like Cook Medical, they're all going to be in the campaign reports, even if it's through proxy. What I was really curious about are the ones that I've never heard before, like Novartis.
It's so bad you can't even say it.
It is, yeah. And I think
you want to spell it?
Novartis Services.
You know what they do?
No. I'm guessing pharmaceutical corporations, because when I went through the H-1B stuff, I found that they hired somebody for artwork change coordinator.
Okay, very good.
And so they gave money to the Indiana Victory Committee once in 2024 and once at the end of 2025. And for those who don't know, that is the joint fundraiser for the Indiana Republican State Committee and the Mike Braun for Indiana campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also from Langham Logistics gave money to Mike Braun in 2023.
Now you're getting this off the state website, correct? When you get these, anybody can find this.
Yeah.
It's not like you've got some magical
backdoor through the Indiana campaign's website.
You go to the Indiana website, which all donations are readily available to people.
Yep.
So Braun comes out, makes this big announcement about, I'm going to spend $1 billion, or we're going to spend $1 billion. was it ag and life science? Is that?
Yeah, it was like pharmaceutical, ag, life science, some biomanufacturing too. And what they wanted to do is that I was just reading another article before I came in here, but I found a Indiana Business article, and Scott Fadness was talking about
Mayor of Fishers.
Yep. And he was like, we've had this great boom of life sciences and biomanufacturing in Fishers. And then guess who's going to be the spearhead on this is Scott Fadness, because he is the chair of CERTA, which is the Central Indiana Regional Development Authority.
Okay, so Braun came out under the new IEDC. It was like the new Coke, right?
Yep.
And he said, we're going to get money away from Central Indiana. We're going to invest all of this money around the state. We're going to try to bring these dying communities back. We're going to pump money in to rural America. This seems very Indianapolis-centric, what they're proposing here, which seems like it's the same thing as Holcomb, right?
Yeah, in fact, I forgot his first name, Adams, the guy who helps run the IEDC, the Secretary of Commerce. He said they're going to focus on Central Indiana. And in the actual, I was like, how did I miss this? The part of the article, I found it just a few minutes ago.
So Michael Hicks, who I'm not a huge fan of, but this was on Twitter, I think. He basically shredded this theory, and he went back tracking the amount of jobs that have been created since like 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, there's no way Braun is going to be able to create this amount of jobs for this. Even the money's irrelevant. There's like this amount of these jobs don't exist.
Yeah. And that's the problem. It's like, all right, if you're going to spend $1 billion and you're promised 100,000 jobs, first off, are they going to be Hoosiers? Or are they going to be H-1B workers? Because if you remember back in like 2018, we talked about this last year, like Infosys over in my backyard off the airport. They said they promised, I wanted to get an exact number. They promised 3,000 jobs.
This was when Pence was governor.
Yep. This is when Holcomb was governor.
Oh, Holcomb was governor.
Yeah, it was when he said, well, you can't spell Indiana without Indian.
Oh, okay. Because initially Infosys came in under Pence, right?
I think it was the beginning. They were having negotiations through the IEDC with Jim Schellinger at that time. And then Ballard was the mayor, and they all were going to like India and Hyderabad, same spot.
Okay, so this is important, though, because did you come up with how many jobs have actually been created? Because that was a huge deal, right? The state sold, this big company's coming. It's going to create all of these jobs. Were you able to put together how many jobs they actually did create?
Well, actually, friend of the show, James Briggs, he actually wrote an article like 2 years ago.
I'll bring you and Briggs together.
Oh, yeah.
The middleman.
We'll have a fun time
together.
Jimmy, come on. He's a nice and cute and sweet little guy.
Here's how this works. And you are amazed at this, and I think everyone is amazed at this. I'm friends with everyone.
It is true.
I span the media spectrum, and my goal is to bring everybody who wants to hold our government accountable together. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, you're about to give Briggs credit for
and totally give Briggs credit, because he went and did the research on it. And he said this was like 2 years in an Axios article where it was only 1,000 jobs.
Oh, wow. So that's a third.
Yeah.
And you have done over the years a good job of tracking. And by the way, everybody can read your stuff at Indy_reporter_ on Twitter. You have done a good job of tracking. A lot of these workers are not citizens of this country. They're people coming in on these HB1 visas.
Yeah. And Infosys is one of them. In fact, you can go to like I think it's H1B data info. You can just Google it and find it. And, by chance, all these companies that are signing up for this $1 billion package, they all get a lot of H1B workers too.
Well, so we are subsidizing foreign people coming into this country.
Yeah. And I think one of my theories is that it's mostly it is like, hey, we will give you this amount of money in tax credits as long as we are getting jobs for it. And then but we all know
people don't pay attention to where the jobs are coming from.
Exactly.
They just see the groundbreaking, the shovel thing, and then people look around and go, "Oh, my community looks vastly different than it did."
Exactly. I'm going to go to Plainfield Walmart, and all of a sudden, it feels like I'm in a United Nations meeting.
Okay, a couple minutes left here with Stephen Whitmer of the Indy Reporter account. The lieutenant governor literally ran. Micah Beckwith ran against the IEDC.
Mm-hmm.
This appears to be a continuation of the exact thing he ran against. I was at that lieutenant governor's debate at the fairgrounds, where he went off on the IEDC.
Yeah,
and he comes out in support of this.
Yeah,
what am I missing?
I don't know. I mean, it's been a huge disappointment for me because it's like I've been around long enough, and I was watching that debate live too, and all the hey, let's get rid of the IEDC, burn it down brick by brick kind of deal. And it's probably one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen watch in real time. I mean, it's no doubt, but at the same time, like he's in Hamilton County, so this would benefit Hamilton County. So maybe he's just looking at it as a GDP bro kind of deal.
Did you say GDP, bro?
Yeah, that's what a lot of these guys are running off of is the GDP, and you'll see that from the IEDC. All that matters is GDP grow up. It doesn't matter. It's like, hey, we got all these weird foreigners coming into the area too who don't even speak the language.
Okay, so real quick, before I let you go, you were watching, we touched on this yesterday on the show, the IURC, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. Some are commissions, some are corporations. It's very hard to keep track of all of it. They are having this hearing, as we're putting this together on Tuesday, with the Big Five investor-owned utilities before they go on their listening tour.
Yep.
We talked with Nikki Kelly earlier. The listening tour to me is ridiculous. Here's my comment. My bill is too high.
Yeah.
Stop raising my bill. There's my listening. What else do you think you're going to hear at this thing? What was going on at this hearing with the Big Five investor-owned utilities?
So I was only able to watch AES and mostly Duke, and if there was a lot of layup questions like, hey, guess what? We have all this infrastructure that needs to be paid for. We're going to do our best to make sure that we don't transfer it over for a rate case. The data centers, they're saying that the data centers are going to pay their own way. And one of my favorite questions was that AES could not answer, but Duke did, was how much money do you pay in lobbyists?
Oh, yeah, because they've got obviously these huge
yeah.
What, do you remember what the number was?
$350,000 for Duke, and then AES couldn't give a number.
Oh,
yeah.
And that just for the state of Indiana? Is that what they're...
I think so, yeah. Well, they didn't say specifically if it was Indiana, but they did say it was like $350,000. And then immediately they're just like, but, they do other things too. It's like, they do that's like 15% of the work they do. But it's like, that's about how much money we spend. It's like, yeah, I know. I can see the lobbyist paperwork.
Do you have any, are the data centers ever going to stop? I mean, is there any way to stop them? Because Jacob Stewart in the Indy Star had a column, it was yesterday, they all run together now, about he essentially said, it was yesterday because I was going to get to it for the show today, ran out of time, that the federal government's going to have to stop the data centers because the states and the cities, they can't handle it. They can't stop them. It seems very odd that we're very concerned about electricity and electrical rates, and we keep just rubber stamping, in most cases, the data centers. We seem to very much need a strategy on them.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to go away. And then you have this new portion of the bill, I think it was 1012, where it's saying, hey, you're going to get 1% of the sales tax of the electricity that you use. And this is going to be used as a carrot for all these rural communities probably. And then I don't know if you just saw that the Decatur Township data center is going to be going through. I'm going to drive past that site.
And they couldn't push back on that because it had already been zoned for.
Yeah, it was just they were changing the variants.
Yes.
Yeah, it was all ready to go. And it was interesting of how many people were supporting it too. What I thought was interesting is I looked at Google Maps. There is a subdivision right across the street and right next door. Like it is something out of some dystopian awful things that might be happening. Like there's a backyard, there's a data center right there.
Joe Hogsett will come out on a giant screen and talk to you each night before
probably
bed.
Hologram Hogsett.
All right, find him.
Doing a dance.
Indy_reporter_ Stephen Whitmer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fan, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.
Buying a home or thinking about refinancing? Work with someone local who understands the central Indiana market. Gary Tedrow with Verity Mortgage helps homebuyers and homeowners explore options for purchasing, refinancing, or even consolidating higher interest debt through their mortgage. Gary's approach is simple, clear advice, and personalized guidance so you can make confident decisions. Visit loansbygary.homes to learn more or get started today. You've got nothing to lose but dollars on your mortgage payment. So call for a free, no-obligation quote, 317-695-5179. Gary Tedrow, NMLS number 179207 with Verity Mortgage, NMLS number 70345, an equal housing opportunity lender.